it still worth aiming to be just a programmer or software engineer in 2025 and beyond? Or are we all about to get smoked by AI and need to rethink everything? Spoiler alert, I've got some thoughts, and they might surprise you. So, grab your energy drink and let's get into it. Alright, so suppose you're a high school kid, maybe a college freshman, and you're like, I'm gonna be a software engineer. You've seen the movies Hackers in Hoodies, million-dollar startups, Elon Musk tweeting about code. You think, I'll learn Python, build some apps, get a sweet job at Google, and boom, life sorted. And honestly, that dream's not dead. But here's the thing. If your only goal is to become a traditional programmer, you know, the kind who just writes code, debugs loops, and calls it a day, you might be setting yourself up for a rude wake-up call in a few years. Guess why? 2 words. Artificial intelligence. Now, don't get me wrong, coding is awesome. I mean, you're basically a wizard, right? You type some magic words into a computer, and suddenly you've got a website, a game, or an app that tracks how many times your dog barks at the mailman. But here's the catch. AI's getting really good at that stuff too. Like, scary good. And it's going to insanely better by the time you are able to call yourself a legitimate programmer. Still, if you're just aiming to be a coder, the traditional kind, what happens when the robots start doing your job faster, cheaper than you, without requiring a lunch break? Let's break this down, because this isn't to bring down your hope and throw you into an abyss of despair. It's a wake-up call with a side of hope. So, let's talk about what's happening right now. In 2025, AI isn't just a buzzword anymore, it's in the game. Tools like GitHub Copilot can write code for you in seconds. Need a function to sort a list? Boom, done. Want a basic website? AI's got you covered before you finish your cereal. I mean, I myself quite good at coding, but still, I tried asking an AI the other day to write me a script for a video game, and it spat out something that wasn't ready to use. Well, that's obvious, but still, it saved a lot of hours off my schedule. And you know, this is just the starting of AI. Well, here's where it gets wild. Do you know AI isn't just doing the easy stuff? I mean, most AIs usually does only simple stuff for free users. But if you look at some of present time's largest AI model, like Grok 3 Pro or GPT 4.5, it's tackling advanced coding too. They are debugging, optimizing, even suggesting entire system designs. Companies like xAI Yep, the folks who built Grok, one of the slickest AIs out there, are pushing this tech to the edge. And it's not just the big dogs. Small startups, indie devs, even your cousin who's building an app in his basement, they're all using AI to punch above their weight. So, if you're thinking, I'll just learn to code and coast, you've got to ask, what happens when AI can do the coasting for you? Why would someone even be willing to pay for you if they can do the same work for free or at a very cheap price? Now, I'm not saying AI is gonna steal every coding job tomorrow. Chill out, we're not in a sci-fi movie yet. But it is changing the game. Coding's not dead, but it's at a crossroads. And if you're just starting out spending years to become a traditional programmer, you've got to wonder, is that enough to carry you through a whole career life? Okay, let's define this traditional programmer vibe. You know the type. Someone who learns Java or Python, masters loops and if statements, builds a calculator app for their final project, and calls it a win. Maybe they get into software engineering, writing code for websites, tweaking databases, fixing bugs in some crusty old system from 2010. And for years, that was the golden ticket. Companies were desperate for anyone who could spell HTML without Googling it. But everything is shifting. That pile of gold isn't as big as it used to be, or at least it's not as easy to grab. Why? Because the basics, the stuff you'd spend years learning as a traditional code or AI, can handle it in seconds or minutes. Companies are not blind. They're like, why pay a human to write boilerplate code when a bot can do it for free? Now, don't panic, traditional coders aren't extinct. There are still jobs out there in 2025. Banks, hospitals, even random e-commerce sites need people to keep the lights on, maintaining systems, fixing stuff AI hasn't touched yet. But those jobs are starting to feel like the entry-level gigs. They'll get you in the door, but if you stay there sticking to just the traditional stuff, you might hit a wall. Meanwhile, the people climbing the ladder, they're the ones who aren't just coders. They're something more. So, what's the more you should aim for? Let's talk about the new breed of software engineers. The ones who aren't sweating AI because they're using it. These aren't just coders. They're problem solvers, creators, innovators. Instead of writing every line of code themselves, they're the ones telling AI what to build or what to help them in. They're designing systems, not just scripts. They're figuring out how to make a drone deliver pizza without crashing into your neighbor's chimney. It's real. I saw that job posting last week. The future doesn't belong to the person who can code the fastest. It belongs to the person who can think the smartest. AI's great at following orders, but it's not so hot at asking, wait, why are we even building this? And that's where you come in. Companies in 2030 aren't going to need a million traditional programmers. They're going to need people who can bridge the gap between human ideas and machine execution. Self-driving cars, virtual reality, space travel. None of that happens with just traditional coding. You need people who understand AI, sure, but also people who can design, strategize, and adapt. Maybe you specialize in cybersecurity because no AI is going to stop every hacker yet. Or maybe you dive into cloud computing because all this tech lives on servers somewhere. The point is, starting as a traditional coder is fine. It's like learning to walk before you run. But if you stop there, you're selling yourself at huge loss. Okay, let's get real for a sec. If you're watching this, I assume maybe you're a student. Maybe you're just curious about tech. You're thinking, I've got years ahead of me. Why stress? But those years, they're gonna fly by. Let's say you spend the next 5 years grinding to become a traditional programmer. You learn the ropes, get decent at C++, build a portfolio cool. You graduate in 2030, and surprise! The job market's shifted. AI is doing half the coding, and companies want engineers who can do more than just build an app or website. Now, I'm not here to scare you. Okay, maybe a little, but I am here to wake you up. Aiming to be just a programmer isn't a death sentence, but it's a gamble with many odds against you. As for the safer bet, start with the basics. Sure, learn to code. It's still the foundation, but don't stop there. Use those years to level up. Play with AI tools, build something wild, and more importantly, learn how to think bigger than the code itself. You can mess around with an AI library like TensorFlow. Build something crazy like a bot that predicts your mood based on your tweets. Not only do you learn coding, but you dip your toes into AI, data science, whatever. And guess what? Suddenly, you're not just a coder, you're a creator. Companies, they're gonna eat that up. So here's the bottom line. Aiming to be just a programmer or software engineer in 2025. It's not a very bad start, but it's not a good one either. AI's here, it's growing, and it's rewriting the rules. You can still code your way to a killer career, but you've got to aim higher. Whether you're 16 or 60, starting today, you've got a shot to build something epic. So, what's your move? Drop it in the comments. I'm reading every single one. If you loved this, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one.